Welcome to Training Camp Live, presented by Honda. A rainy day here in Florham Park. The New York Jets welcoming in the Washington Commanders for joint practices. Aaron Rodgers, Jaden Daniels, the Heisman Trophy winner, the number 2 overall pick, set not to go head-to-head because Jaden Daniels doesn't play on defense, but it's a lot that we're going to show on this show. We got one-on-ones later on. We got Leger Douzable batting leadoff here in studio. Leger, first time out of Jets training camp in 24. What are we looking at today?
I felt like I brought, Debbie with me. The weather's bad. I heard it had been like really hot out here. In Florida it's hot, but everybody been saying it had been like 90, 95 degrees. So as a player, though, you actually kind of like this type of weather. It's 65. You've been dealing with 100-degree weather. So, sad that I brought a little bit of cloud cover, but, it's always great when you get a cross practice to really evaluate your team.
Well, the good thing about being in the studio is we don't have to brave the elements.
No.
We're covered in here right now. But, Deuce, can you speak to the changing dynamic of the NFL preseason?
Yeah.
Where when you played, the preseason games were
everything.
Were everything.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing the joint practices where the Jets are starting today with the Washington Commanders. Next week, we're going to see you down in Carolina where they will practice with the Panthers, of course. And then finally, the Giants are coming here to Florham Park this year for a joint practice followed by a game.
Yeah, it's just interesting to see the philosophy change between different coaches in the league. Like you said, there's been a philosophy change where when I played, preseason was everything. That's how you truly evaluated your guys, and that's how you truly prepared them to get ready for the rigors of a 16-game season, and plus if you were making a playoff run. But now, coaches, like you said, a lot of these teams are having 3 cross practices. So essentially they're substituting, instead of putting their frontline guys in preseason games, they're putting them in these cross practices to truly evaluate them. And rhyme or reason is one way better than another. Who knows? Andy Reid still plays his guys in the preseason. They have a lot of success. So it just depends on how you feel your team will do when they have that cross practice. It's always good to get a look at another color because for the player's perspective, EA, you're tired of beating up on your own color, right? We've seen it across the landscape of the NFL. So many fights break out. Now you get to compete against another team, and the competition always gets ratcheted up. And again, from the Jets' perspective, the brass, the front office, they get to evaluate the guys and they get to evaluate other teams as well. So it's always good when you get to, go to battle with your brothers against another color and another team.
Look, take a look at this right here. The guy in the green raincoat, not in practice. That's a quarterback right there. That looks like Aaron Rodgers. And as he turns his face, it is Aaron Rodgers. We saw Mike Williams in the practice field in gear. He was activated off the physically unable to perform list, but obviously with 8 in the green raincoat not practicing, that's definitely something that it's going to kind of news to us. Like last time we saw him on the practice field was on field 3, which is closest to the street, and the Jets had a final period. Tyrod Taylor took reps at the end of practice, and then yesterday was a walkthrough.
Well, I should say, and you guys just saw that, Aaron Rodgers got a big smile on his face, and he was hopping out there as he talked to as he talked to one of the young ball boys. But dudes, I don't want to sit here and throw things out as far as just speculation.
Correct.
But in this kind of situation, does it make sense? You got a slick field, you got a veteran quarterback, you got a guy who's gone through a number of reps throughout the summer just to hold him back right now.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. You talked about it, the inclement weather, and it hasn't just been today. It's been raining the last couple of days because of the storm that came from the south. So we don't know if that maybe was part of the decision for him maybe not to play. This could be that he already had a rest day built in, right? Yeah. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is a guy that's going into his 20th season. So most veterans in camp, even my 9th year, like I had built-in rest days. This could be a built-in rest day for Aaron Rodgers. So, it's a bit of a surprise, but not overly surprising just because, again, this guy's a 4-time MVP. He's played 20 years. You talked about it, EA. It'd be one thing if he wasn't here in the offseason. He was here throughout the entire offseason. It's taking every rep. And we were talking about this before we came online. He's a guy that wants to take every rep. So, he's gotten extensive work already. So, not overly surprised that he's not practicing
Well,
today.
with that being said, if he's not practicing, how does that change the evaluation process of where your offense is today against a Washington Commanders
Yeah.
defense, which is just different than the Jets.
Well, you got to think you have another consummate pro and a veteran in Tyrod Taylor, right? So I don't think the evaluation changes much, even though Aaron Rodgers and Tyrod are two totally different players. But you have a guy that can run the offense. They're not going to hold anything back because Tyrod's there. You're still going to get the total evaluation, and now you get to evaluate some other younger quarterbacks as well. And then also, it'll be interesting to see the O-line. We see them all right there. Everybody seems to be dressed, even all starting five. It'll be interesting to see how they go out and practice as well, because a guy like Tyron Smith, Morgan Moses, who have played a lot of years, do they maybe take some reps off of them this week? But if, knowing Morgan Moses, he probably doesn't want to take any reps off. He just go against his old team right here. So anytime you go against your old team, that fuels a little fire. You get a little bit more juice going as well. But I don't think it changes, Ethan. I don't think it changes really anything in the evaluation, because Tyrod Taylor is a guy that's played for a long time in this league, and you're going to evaluate it the same.
Oh, so the breaking news out here at Jets camp is Aaron Rodgers is not practicing. He's out there on the field. That means that Tyrod Taylor is going to take the reps with the first-team offense throughout today's joint practice against the Washington Commanders here in Florham Park. The field is slick. It is raining. Behind Tyrod Taylor, Andrew Peasley, who wears number 14, the rookie from Wyoming, will also take snaps, and he will be followed by Adrian Martinez, a guy who played at Quincy and Nunez, Nebraska, before transferring to Kansas State.
Yeah, I think that in terms of today's practice, right, if we're looking at, I think a lot of eyes are going to be on the Jets O-line, obviously so, Jets offense, obviously, especially with the Aaron Rodgers wrinkle. Defensively, Leger, what are you looking at? Because the Jets defense, it's been top 5 each of the last 2 years. Like, what are you looking at specifically today?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a really good matchup on the outside when you got an all-pro like Sauce Gardner to go against a guy like Scary Terry McLaurin, who's been a Pro Bowler receiver as well. So I love that matchup as well. And then when you look at the Jets defensive line, right, Will McDonald, I think this will be a really big day for him, seeing another color. They have a starting left tackle right now that's a rookie in Brandon Coleman. I'm interested to see how he plays as well. But I can't wait to see that matchup between our defensive line and their offensive line. Adam Peters, the GM, has made some changes on that side of the ball and has brought in guys like Nick Allegretti, who has Super Bowl experience from the Kansas City Chiefs. So again, anytime you get to go up against another color, you get to really evaluate yourself to see where you're at right now at this stage early in training camp. So the receiver matchups, Jahan Dotson, Terry McLaurin versus DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner, and then adversely, our defensive line versus their offensive line.
So right now we're watching the Jets offensive line warm up. They're going to be going against the likes of Daron Payne, Jonathan Allen, Dorrance Armstrong, Cleveland Farrell as well. So and Tyron Smith is also taking individual drills right now, I should say that. So we'll have to see if he's out there taking team reps.
And that'll be good, too, because especially in the interior, like Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne is probably one of the best, if not the best, combo at D-tackle in all of football. So this will be a really good test, right, for Elijah Vera Tucker, for Tippmann, also for Simpson inside those interior three. And then we just talked about it earlier. We'll see how many reps Tyron Smith and also Morgan Moses get. But I really like their edge guys. They really fortified and brought in some new pieces. Dorrance Armstrong, who's very familiar with Dan Quinn, also Cleveland Farrell. They also brought in a guy that was here before that can play linebacker and rush on the outside of Frankie Louvu. So it'll be interesting to see those matchups, too, between their defensive line and our offensive line.
There's the Jets linebackers right now, Quincy Williams, who was All-Pro last year, also number 32 on NFL's top 100.
Love it.
Huh?
Love it.
How about some love?
Yeah.
And number 44, Jamie Sherwood, he's at a great camp. I'm interested to see what you think about him after today's practice. Leger, you mentioned Joe Tippmann earlier. Well, actually, someone who's familiar with Joe Tippmann, let's check in on the field with Caroline Hendershot and Jason Fabini.
All right, guys, here with Jason Fabini. Now, Jason, I know you obviously have a lot of history with the Jets, but you also have a lot of history with center Joe Tippmann. Now, you were kind of a mentor figure for him from 8th grade through high school, coaching him and everything. Now, what did you see out of him last year that you really liked?
I think his toughness. He's a big, strong guy. He was able to, being a center, I think he was communicating. And, as a rookie, it's hard to play center, so I think he did a great job.
You also started your rookie year, so you kind of knew what to expect in that transition. What did you tell him to help him kind of prepare for that jump?
Well, I just told him to be himself and to listen to the older guys. He was a rookie. You don't want to rock the boat and just kind of go with the flow.
Now, in his second year, obviously he has talked about being a lot more comfortable because, you just have a better understanding of the scheme and the playbook, and you have a little bit of your head on your shoulders this year. What do you expect to see out of him?
Well, I think the offensive line got revamped this year, so I expect big things. I think, they got a lot of expectations going into the season. I think Joe will be good.
Now, what about playing with a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers? How much do you think that just elevates his game every single practice, day in, day out?
Oh, I think without a doubt. He says Aaron, tells him stuff about offensive line play, which is awesome. And I think he's excited to play for Aaron. And I think, when you have a great quarterback behind you, it makes the offensive line's job a lot easier.
Did you tell him anything going into this season, like words of wisdom?
No, I think Joe's got it figured out. I think that he's got a lot of people talking to him, and he's got it figured out. I think he's going to have a great season.
Awesome. Jason, thanks so much for the time.
Oh, you're welcome.
Jason, thank you, Caroline, and thank you for braving the weather. The NFL Fan of the Year, presented by Captain Morgan, is back. The Jets want to celebrate you and your dedication to the green and white. Submit your nomination at nyjets.com/fan of the year. All right, welcome back to Training Camp Live, presented by Honda. Quincy Enunwa joins us on set. The big news of the day, Aaron Rodgers not practicing today. Robert Saleh spoke to the Jets beat writers at practice, said that is a weather precaution. It is a slick field. Yeah. It's raining. We don't know how long the rain will last, but that's the reason why he's not practicing. So I think Jets fans watching this, one collective deep breath.
Quincy, bottom line, if this was a regular season game and the Jets were hosting the Washington Commanders, number 8's out there. He's taking those snaps from the aforementioned Joe Tippmann. But you're playing a long game here. You have a 40-year-old quarterback who's had a tremendous start to training camp. He looks to be in midseason form. Why don't you tell him, everybody at home, what you've seen from Rodgers so far at camp, because you've been out here most every practice?
Yeah, I'm seeing a guy that really, we already knew he had a command of the offense, but it's really shown today or throughout the whole training camp. And the thing I love is that he's spreading the ball evenly. You're seeing him throwing it to the running backs, throwing it to different receivers. Guys are getting chances to make plays with Aaron Rodgers. And I think he knows that because in an NFL season, you're going to have a lot of guys going down, and you're going to want to make sure that you have comfort level, a high comfort level with every single guy on the field. So he's doing a good job of making sure he's not just targeting one guy, but he's spreading the ball around, giving everybody some love.
I will say, don't you think, guys, that this is going to help Tyrod Taylor? Because Aaron Rodgers takes a ton of reps during practice. And you're hoping he plays 17 games this season and well beyond, and the Jets obviously make a playoff run. But with that being said, this gives Tyrod Taylor extended work against another team with his new team running the offense greens.
Yeah, this is why you brought Tyrod Taylor in the building, in case Aaron Rodgers couldn't go. Today, he's not going to be able to go because of weather. Robert Saleh said we're going to take him out. And I think I'm interested to see what Taylor does with the ones, because throughout practice, up to this point, he's been running with the twos, and so you get a sense of what Taylor is about, but now you really get to see what he would be like as close to a game situation as possible.
And also, we know that Aaron Rodgers isn't playing on Saturday, right? So it's another opportunity for Tyrod Taylor to get those reps with these guys. And I really want to watch him because he's a guy that is a consummate professional. Every year he goes out there and he does exactly what he needs to do as a quarterback. He just obviously has those injury issues. So to see him get these reps in practice, we're going to really see what Saturday is going to look like. And they had either a third down period or a 2-minute period where he drove down the field, and it was flawless, right? A few passes to Alan Lazard on the sideline, got them in the field goal range, and ended the period just how they needed it.
I'm curious to know, and we'll find out soon enough, if Tyrod Taylor will in fact even play Saturday. It might be Peasley and Martinez.
I will say, yeah, absolutely, you're right. The other thing is that there's been so much, I feel like, news that we're trying to get out. We haven't actually talked about the news, which is Mike Williams has been activated off of the physically unable to perform list. We just saw him going through individual drills a moment ago. If you're watching right now, stay tuned because we're going to show you one-on-ones. Jets O-line, Commanders D-line, Commanders O-line, Jets D-line. We'll see what we can get in a couple minutes here. But in terms of Mike Williams, I would imagine he's not going to participate in team periods. This is going to be an acclimation period for him back on the field.
This is not a betting show, but I think that's a safe assumption.
Thank you. But Quincy, as a big-bodied guy that Mike Williams is, we've talked about it before, but now that you know how Alan Lazard has been practicing lately, how much of a game-changing or like a personnel-changing add is it to have Mike Williams in the fold?
Yeah, it'll be huge. I mean, we know that Allen Lazard is a big body guy, but his skill set is a little different from Mike Williams, right? Mike Williams is a guy that's going to win those 50-50 balls for you. He's going to go out there, stretch the field a little bit more. So it's exciting for the rest of the team to know that the game changes. The whole dynamics of the offense changes when you have a guy like Mike Williams, right? We talk about how it changes when you have Garrett Wilson. We talk about how it changes when you have Breece Hall. It changes even significantly more with a guy like Mike Williams because it's that threat that not only can we run the ball, but when we throw it, we don't always have to go deep. We could put it anywhere, and he's going to go up and get it.
My anticipation is Williams is going to be on a pitch count, much like a few of the Jets' offensive linemen when he actually does return to practice. You said he was doing individuals, great sign. He's off the PUP list. He's on the active roster, but you got to play the long game with the big receiver.
Absolutely. And, we'll see what happens. Robert Saleh said he's on a similar time period to Breece Hall. Breece Hall was not activated until I believe it was like August 15th or 16th of last year. So a couple days before that. So we'll see if he's able to take any snaps. But
take us through that. Take us through the drill that we just saw Mike Williams.
Yeah, so this is great. This is good for his confidence in his footwork, right? Because this is a big footwork drill, but it's also, you got to pay attention. You got to go around this bag right here and make sure that your eyes are up, your hands are up, so you can catch this slick ball too. So I love that they're doing it in the rain. You see Coach has a towel on his shoulder to wipe a little bit of the water off, but it's great for hand-eye coordination, but it's also great for dipping your hips. You know he has that knee, right? You're getting low. You're working on the traction on the ground, so it's a good drill for him right now.
Two players before we saw number 17, Malachi Corley, the rookie out of Western Kentucky. What have you seen from him in terms of progress from the beginning of camp?
Consistency. I mean, he's a guy that's been working. I saw the first couple of days, he had some issues getting off the line. He had some issues on the second level of his routes, but he's been working on it. He had a few great catches, and you can see the confidence growing. He's also out there in special teams. So like I said before, I'm excited to see him with the ball in his hands as a returner, and they're giving him those opportunities. So maybe Saturday we might be able to see some of those opportunities again. With
Malachi Corley and Braylon Allen, for that matter, their games rely on physicality.
Right.
So now going up against another team, do you feel, Quincy, that there's another level that they can probably feel like they can show?
Oh, yeah, and it's a little dangerous, honestly, because you're now playing against somebody else. You have some different colors, right? Lejay was talking about you have different colors to play against, and a lot of the young guys don't really know exactly how to practice as an NFL player. So you might see it get a little chippy because they're going to want to run through these guys because that is their skill set. When I have the ball in my hand, I see red, and in this case, I see burgundy, so I might run through that.
Malik Taylor not practicing. He was part of that wide receiver huddle, number 86 for the New York Jets. We're just moments away from, we might see some one-on-ones out here between the Jets and Commanders, Greens.
That's what I think we're going to get shortly. But before we get to some one-on-ones, let's go back down to the field for Caroline Hendershot. What are the Jets trying to get out of today's practice, Caroline?
Yeah, all the players yesterday that spoke had a similar message about what they're trying to get out of today's practice. For Tyler Conklin, he was focused on practicing against a different scheme, practicing against different blitzes that they would see. Quinnen Williams said it's a perfect time to practice what you have learned the first 2 weeks of practice. And between Jaden Daniels, a couple of the running backs, the wide receiver group, he said this defense is really going to be tested in this practice. And Robert Saleh kind of summed it all up and said, for the young guys, it's the perfect opportunity to practice against a different team because, they get accustomed to practicing against the same defensive looks or the same offensive looks. So they're a little bit used to it, and this is the perfect time to switch it up for them.
Caroline, kickoff is right around the corner. Be there for every big matchup this season with Jets 2024 season tickets. For more information on how to purchase, call or text 800-469-5387. You're watching Training Camp Live presented by Honda. Quincy Anunwa here in studio. The Jets and Commanders set to, I believe, start 7-on-7 on one-on-ones here, which is really what is the juice of practice, or so we start getting going here. And if you're just tuning in, when you don't see number 8 Aaron Rodgers out there, don't worry. Robert Saleh told the beat reporters that because of the slick field, because of the weather, they're just holding him out. But there you see number 1, front and center, Sauce Gardner getting ready to practice against number 5 and the Washington Commanders' new quarterback, Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels, man. I am excited to watch him against this Jets defensive front. Can Quinnen Williams get that interior pressure on him? And also, his athleticism is off the charts. So far, early reviews in Washington, very favorable for number 5 right there, and we'll have an opportunity to watch them here on Training Camp Live.
Yeah, definitely. And I know, EA, you're a big college football guy, so I know you're excited to watch him.
Quincy's a big college football video game guy.
Yeah, exactly. He was in the game last year. If they had it last year, I would have known a little bit more. But I know how highly touted he is. I know how exciting it is going to be to watch him. I really want to see how the defense kind of adjusts against him, right? Because it's a little bit challenging when you have a mobile quarterback. Obviously, we're not going to be able to see that in practice, but in the game, if they let him really get those reps, how can you adjust? Because as the season goes on, you're going to have those challenges, obviously, with Josh Allen out there with Buffalo.
And the Jets will see Jaden Daniels' teammate at LSU, Malik Neighbors, with the Giants when the Giants come to Florham Park in a couple weeks. But there's Jaden Daniels looking over the middle. That's a completed ball. Can't see the number of the Washington Commanders player. But also, in terms of 7-on-7.
This is 7-on-7.
Yeah, like how much from a defensive, offensive standpoint are you actually taking out of 7?
Yeah, so it's tough as defensively because you don't get the pressure, right? And the pressure, I always say the defensive line is the heartbeat of the defense. So if you can't get that pressure, then the DBs are really covering them much longer than they need to. So it makes it a challenge. Guys are still getting their footwork together out here. You can see some guys slipping around, but it's a good way to just understand your coverages, right? Be in the right space as a defense. Make sure it's hard for this guy to read what's going on, and then just try to make the play.
That's Marcus Mariota, isn't it?
Yeah,
number 0.
A little completion over the middle, and number 29 for the Jets, of course, Jarek Bernard-Converse, who's gotten some very valuable reps here this summer because we saw Sauce Gardner miss a couple practices, and Michael Carter's been dealing with the ankle. I don't anticipate MC2 to be out there today.
No, I definitely do not expect him to be out there today. And yeah, interesting, in the 7-on-7s, you were seeing reps switch off between the 1s, the 2s, and 3s every snap, whereas the Jets so far to this point in practice when they do 7-on-7 it's Aaron Rodgers with the first team for an extended period of time, then Tyrod, then typically Andrew Peasley. So that seems to be a little bit of a shakeup there. But right there, that's Garrett Wilson completing or catching a ball, you would imagine, from Taylor.
Yeah. We've been seeing that all summer. Yes. Number 5 catching the football, the crowd going nuts out here on the open public days, and he's getting practice started off the right way, and maybe he had a couple pleasantries for the Commanders' defensive backfield there, Q.
Yeah, these are exciting times. I remember 2018 we went against Washington in practice, and it's always fun to have that battle, right? Because I think a lot of guys flip a switch when you're playing against somebody else. In training camp, you have a switch, but there's a whole nother level when you're playing against another team. There's less friendliness there. I'm not going to see when I go to the locker room.
Peasley over the middle to a young rookie running back, Isaiah Davis. What I've seen from the rookie running backs here, Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis, they're both comfortable catching the ball out of the backfield.
Yes, definitely. They have those skill sets, and that's what you need, especially in this offense.
This is Quincy's guy right here, college football 25, 24, Adrian Martinez.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Right there, baby.
Somebody did you wrong in the back on that switch. Jaden Daniels, getting back to him a little bit. Yeah. His last 2 years with LSU, 57 touchdown passes, 7 interceptions.
Yeah, ridiculous.
And not only can he throw it, he can run with it. And supposedly, as it stands, we anticipate to see him Saturday at noon at MetLife Stadium. To your point, we don't know.
At least for a little bit. Yeah. That's an anticipation that he'll the rookie gets out there.
Yeah, I think it makes sense, right? I think just giving him some opportunities. You want him to be your guy this year. I know there's been kind of a wave of let's not put too many guys out there, but I think, with less camp time and less preseason time, it's imperative for these guys to get as many reps as possible.
Yeah. So let's go back down to the field with Brian Baldinger watching some one-on-ones here at Jets Commanders practice. What's happening on the field now, Baldy?
We got one-on-ones right now going on between Washington's offensive line and the Jets' defensive front. And here's Will McDonald going up against the rookie right here in Washington. Nice job right now. Yeah.
Chris Paul.
But he started with power. He started with power, and then he went to a spin. So, but here we go. So watch the takeoff. All right. Nice. You see that dip? See that dip right there? He could have just grabbed some grass right there on that.
That's what he's been looking for. He wants to get as many opportunities to do that. Quincy Williams was really high on our guy Will McDonald here, and I really want to see him get those opportunities this weekend and today.
That's something I've also liked what I've seen here early in camp is Braden McGregor, undrafted free agent for Michigan, wearing number 91. I think he's had a nice camp. The defensive line greens over the last couple practices, I think, have gotten after the Jets' offensive line. I think we might continue to see that today against the Commanders. If you look across the board, at least from a front line perspective, the Jets might give them some fits.
Absolutely. And another one of those undrafted free agents, Eric Watts out of UConn.
Yes.
Where number 58, he's a tall player. He's a physical player. And I think that he's also been off to a really nice start. But this is, we were talking about Will McDonald. We saw him for a couple reps there. He's someone that I think a lot of Jets fans have circled because of, it's perhaps unjust seeing the jump from Jermaine Johnson year 1 to year 2 and be like, oh, Will McDonald, just do the same thing. Jermaine is a Pro Bowl player. Yeah. He's a fantastic player. I'm not saying Will McDonald cannot become that, but I will say, take a look at what Will McDonald did with a limited amount of snaps last year. Assuming he's stronger this year, EA, you'd imagine, given the freaky traits, he'd be set for a jump. I'm just not quite sure it's fair to say he's going to have the same jump as Jermaine.
No, different bodies.
Yeah.
And you saw that coming out. But with that being said, the Jets, to a man, have said that Will McDonald is stronger in year 2, and you would anticipate that being the case after having a full offseason of work with the Jets' strength staff. Now, for him, it's taking that next step with these joint practices against the Commanders, the Panthers, and the Giants. This is an important preseason for him.
And we'll see what happens. And again, joint practice today, game Saturday at noon. I believe the weather is looking actually pretty nice Saturday. Wow. It was supposed to be rainy. Now it's supposed to be sunny. We'll see what happens. Thanks for tuning in to Training Camp Live, presented by Honda. Make sure to check out NewYorkJets.com for all your joint practice and all your practice coverage.